Hello there, and welcome to another creative challenge. My name is Jen Raza, and I am one of the co-founders of Altenew, and I also do a lot of product design and work with the product development team. And I am here to share another creative challenge with all of you. So I'm happy to see that many of you are already here and active in the chat. If you haven't said anything yet, pop into the chat, say hello, see who's here. And I do have the amazing Jelly behind the badge. So as we go through today's live, any products that I talk about or any questions that you may have, she'll be able to pop in product links and answer those questions, especially those that I might not see, because as I'm crafting, my computer is up there and those comments sometimes scroll past and I don't notice them. So Jelly is great at making sure that things don't go missed and making sure that you guys have the information you need about the products that we talk about here today. I have to say I am exhausted today. I did mention last week that this week is my first day back at my teaching job. So I do teach elementary school. So we have our professional days this week, and then the kiddos come back on Monday. I know for some of you are probably thinking this is really late. For me, it actually feels early because most of the schools in the area, the kids go back after Labor Day. So I know in many warmer climates, especially, the kids go back in like mid-August or something. But for us, it is a little bit strange that we are starting this early. But yeah, today was my first day and I'm feeling jazzed and excited for a brand new school year. If any of you are teachers or you have children or grandchildren or family members who are going to school, I just love this time of year. The back to school season is awesome. And as a kid who loved school growing up, I always loved back to school. Meanwhile, my brothers were not as much into school as I was. And I think they definitely got that like nervous feeling back to school. And I even talked to some of my friends who aren't teachers and they don't have kids, but they still get like the September jitters because of that, like growing up, that feeling of always, getting nervous before the start of the school year. But yeah, for me, I love it, love it, love it. So all of that to say, yeah, I'm a little tired. So if you notice my energy waning towards the end of this live, that may be why. And then yes, just some reminders. If you share this live while we're live, you will just be entered to win a $15 gift certificate to the Altenew store, but as long as you let us know that you shared. So please just come on in and say, hey, I shared, liked and shared. That's all you have to do. And by the end of this hour, we will have pulled a winner and maybe it will be you. The other way to join and win is by playing along with our challenge. So let me wrap up last week's challenge and then we'll get into this week's. So last week we had Turn It Upside Down, which might have been our lowest participation to date. Maybe it's back to school busyness. Maybe it's something else, but I have a feeling I threw you guys too much of a challenge. I try to get us out of our creative comfort zone, but if I go too far out there, then people don't play along. So, you got to catch that balance. So the theme was to use something intentionally upside down on your project. So that could be a greeting, that could be stamping. Let's say you had a car. I don't know what my example was last week. It was weird, but like a car or a bird or something, and you stamp it upside down, but you make a reason for it. Like, oh, have a silly birthday, or I don't know, you flip me head over heels. That would be cute. In my case, what I did was I used the fact that a reflection would make something look upside down, appear upside down. I did create this card, and I didn't have a chance to try the technique again. It was something that after I made this, I really wanted to do again. First of all, I feel like I didn't do a good job of my mirror stamping. My imagination told me that it would look better if it was not crisp, but I think what I needed to do was make it crisp, but just not black. Like, as I was thinking about it, I'm like, okay, well, the reflection maybe needed to be more like stamped more properly, I guess. I don't know what to say. But then maybe in a lighter color, like gray or something like that. And then I did like putting on this water effect. So I did use our crystal gel and then just like smeared that on easy peasy. And it was really a nice effect. So I played with that as my upside down. But yeah, I could count on one hand how many people played along. So I think I scared you off. So let's see who is the winner. As long as you feature a project using our hashtag Altenew Challenge Live, and post it somewhere publicly where we can find it, and it fulfills the challenge prompt, then you are entered to win that additional $15 gift card. So give me a moment just to share, and I will show you who the winner is. Just need to share my screen. Oh, Vicky says she got the crystal gel yesterday. Let me know what you do with it, because I never use my gels and pastes often. And then when I do, I feel like I've unlocked something, like I've discovered something new, and everyone else in the world obviously already knew about it. But like, to me, I'm like, oh, what can I do next with this? And yeah, the crystal gel I think is really beautiful. Like all of the pastes that we sell are beautiful, but that one's just a unique one, and you can color it and tint it. That was the other thing I was hoping to do over this week, but I didn't have time to do that. Share screen. Oh, it would help if I opened it up on my computer. Okay, so this drum roll might have to be a longer one. Don't have it up yet. Close that, open this, and there we have it. Okay, so the winner of this challenge, drum roll please, is Kim Gottlieb. Yay! And no, I did not pick Kim just because she did a reflection. This was actually a late submission, and when I saw it, I was just like so at peace. Look at how calm and serene. I love we have the little fishies in there when we've got the boat. It just looks so nice. And yeah, we did some a little bit of a reflection action here too, but I was just very captivated by that little scene. So congratulations, Kim. Make sure that you contact us at support@altenew.com and let us know that you are the winner of the challenge, and we will get that gift card out to you as soon as possible. So yay, 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 yay. Congrats to Kim. Love, love, love it. And I'm sorry to everybody else who maybe felt intimidated by this one. This week is going to be an easier one, so don't you worry. So that'll bring us now to this week's challenge, and this is old and new. This is Altenew. That is what Altenew is. If you are new to our company and you haven't heard the whole spiel about how Altenew came to be and how it came to be named, the idea that Tasneem and I had way back when in 2014 was to produce products that kept the beauty of like old traditions and then mix it with new, trendy, fresh twists. So taking that concept of old and new, we were trying to name the company, and Tasneem is so smart when it comes to naming things. She names pretty much almost all of the ink colors. So if you ever wonder who's behind that, like she asks us for input, but like Tasneem really does a lot of amazing work with naming those products. I am not as creative with naming products, but she was the one who came up with Altenew for the company name. And that is because alt means old in German and new means new in English. So old and new is Altenew. So that's where the company name came from. And I thought this would be a great challenge to combine older and new products. Yeah, Kim's saying, is there anyone on today's live that's brand new to Altenew? Oh, that's a good question. I always wonder who's new here as well, because to play along, by the way, you don't have to use Altenew products. I love to see them when you do, if you have them. But if you're new to crafting or new to our company and you don't have any Altenew, you could definitely use what you have on hand. But let's get back now to the challenge for today. I know I'm trying to read at the same time as speaking. It's a little challenging, you know, multitasking like that, but I'm going to pop you down and show you what I grabbed. I don't have the newest of the new or the oldest of the old, but these products were speaking to me for today. So I will show you what they are. And Melanie said she didn't know that. Oh, and Kim, you are so sweet. She says, I'll donate the $15 to somebody who's new. That's really sweet. Oh, are you sure? Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, so let Kim know in the comments if you are new to Altenew, and that is just oh so sweet. I love it. Kindness is amazing, isn't it? So nice. You guys are the best. We have the best community. We really, really do. But yeah, so back to the Altenew name, that is the idea, the founding idea behind the company. And we've really stayed true through that, like over the years. So if you notice, we do have fresh, modern, trending type themes in our products, but we also do new and innovative things that you haven't seen before. But at the same time, we really like to bring back old, just classic or even multicultural themes, because they in their own way are important and shape who we are. We have a very multicultural team. Tasneem and I, just the two of us, we have very differing backgrounds. And throughout all of these years of Altenew, we've definitely stayed true to that, of bringing the old with the new or making the old new in a fresh way. So I brought as my old vintage flowers. This is not our oldest set, but it is definitely from one of the original releases. I should know this offhand, but I don't remember what release this was in, but this does go way, way back. And I love the vintage roses and the vintage flowers because they look like old, like vintage fabric patterns. I also do a lot of sewing. I love creating with fabric. And this was making me think of what I can do with like a fabric or sewing theme. So that brought me to another old product, and that is the circle embroidery hoop. Apologies because this one is not available anymore. This has been retired. If you want to get your hands on this one, I think you'll have to shop secondhand. You will have to find someone who is destashing and selling theirs. But this is where I was thinking we could stamp into this embroidery hoop and make that. And then to tie it in with something new, we've got Stitched with Love. Now, this was part of a 2026 release, so I'm calling it new. It is still 2026, but this was actually, I believe, in January or February this came out. This was the Stitched with Love project kit, but I was especially drawn to the scissors and the little thread and needle. So I think I could make something really cute and fabric themed, sewing themed with these products. As always, I don't have a really strong idea of what I'm going to do. I just pulled some products. I don't know about colors. I don't know what the arrangement's going to be. I do know I'm going to make a card, but I think since I don't have such a strong idea yet, let's see how this develops. And let's start with the scissors. I can't wait to die cut these. And as I open this up, I'm going to look and see that Alicia says, I work in a little store in Phoenix and carry some of the products, but I didn't know about how the name came about. Yay, now you know. It's really nice when people find out those little tidbits about a company, because Altenew isn't a real word. So it's not like when you hear a product name or a company name and it's just words that we're familiar with and it makes sense. Altenew is not a word. So a lot of people do tend to wonder how the name came about. And I'm glad to help spread that story around. Okay, so here we go with the Stitched with Love. You can see we have the pieces for the scissors. And then these are for the little handles of the scissors. So I want to grab that. And then right here in the center is the extra piece, like the little screw that goes on it. I don't know if I'm going to go with silver or gold. Or like the brushed rose. That's what we have to do. That's going to be beautiful. Okay, so let's do the brushed rose metallic cardstock. And can this fit on this little scrap? Please, please. Did it? Did this just fit on the random scrap? I think it did. Okay. And you know what I might do is have this part hanging over the edge, just because that's going to get covered up with this piece anyway. So I'm not too worried if that gets cut off, and that'll just ensure I don't cut off any of the blades. But ooh, way to use a scrap. Okay, this is definitely going to need to get adhered down so that I don't shift it while I'm cutting it. So just a little bit of tape on that end and a little bit of tape on this end. Melanie's saying, love this kit. It really is a fun one, I have to say. Especially too, because a lot of crafters do more than one craft. So I know that there are a lot of paper crafters that are also quilters, or who do knitting, or they do sewing, or embroidery, cross stitching. There's just so many things that you can do outside of paper crafting that is still adjacent to paper crafting in a way. So yeah, I think that's really great to have a set like this that combines multiple hobbies in one. Okay, I'm just pulling out my Mini Blossom die cut machine for this. I am unfortunately going to have to use my larger die cut machine for the circle embroidery hoop, because it is not going to fit on the plates. These plates are 3 by 6 inches. And although they do accommodate most of my die cutting, they do not accommodate all of my die cutting. So obviously anything larger than this, like if you have a background die, like a cover die, or something like this that happens to be larger, you do need to pull out a different machine. But I do just love this convenience of having this one on my desk as I work. Hi to the Roadrunner 197. Happy Tuesday to you as well. Trying to get this in the frame so you could see that. Now I really want a pair of scissors that have rose gold blades. I was going to ask if that exists, but it has to exist, right? There's no way that doesn't exist. Okay. So you could see here that I have cut off some of that, but it's okay because it will get covered. And then for the grips on the handles, what do we want to do? I think in my own craft room, I do have a lot of like lagoon color. My chair that I'm sitting on, though, is a little bit more blue toned, but I think I want to go with lagoon. Just it is a favorite color of mine. So I'm just going to snip off a little piece here, cutting around that. You know, I was just about to like grab these scissors. Oh, let me use these and cut around. Okay, so just cutting that. Now, all of my paper I do store in these like clear pockets I think I got them on Amazon. We sell some amazing storage pockets that fold and like seal up. But ever since I started putting my cardstock in these open folders, I found it a lot easier just to grab cardstock as I need it and then push it back on the shelf and then not have to worry about the process of opening and closing. It's changed my crafting for the better because now I don't hesitate to reach multiple colors of cardstock because it's just so convenient and it's right behind me. Yeah, Stephanie, they would be some fancy scissors. Give me some fancy scissors. You know, like little embroidery snips, like little embroidery scissors. Those are so beautiful. They always have nice, like debossed details or like etchings. That would be kind of cool to like send this through with an embossing folder to maybe put some kind of pattern on it. I don't know. Today we're leaving them as is. Don't want to lose this. There you are. And now let's cut our handle grip here. Okay, so yes, I'm seeing that Jelly behind the scene is saying we have lives twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday. Yes, we do. Of course, there are times when lives do need to get canceled, and we do always feel bad when that happens, especially because sometimes it happens last minute and you may have set aside that time to check out the live. But a lot of the lives every week are done by the same instructors, so you guys can see the schedule. You can find that also, I believe, on the intro and the outro. You can see the live schedule there. So I know that I have a live in 2 weeks that I'm not going to be here for. So mark your calendars on that. It's on September 8th, a Tuesday, and I won't be here because it is my birthday. I am turning 43. I always have to like think in my head, like, how old am I again? 43. Well, 42 now, will be 43. And for those of you who are just joining us here, we are doing old and new. You don't have to do your newest set with your oldest set. If you want to, that's really fun and really cool. Like, hey, I just got this yesterday. And then when I started crafting, this was my first set ever. But what I'm looking for is for you to take something that is on the older end of your collection of supplies and mix it with something on the newer end of your collection. So as I mentioned earlier in this live, these dies came from a set in early 2026. And then the products I'm pairing it with include these stamps from, I believe, 2014. And not sure about the embroidery hoop, but that's another oldie and goodie. Deborah, thank you so much for the early birthday wishes. I think I'm just going to adhere these down with liquid glue instead of foam tape. And then same thing with like when I put the two parts of the scissors together, but I think I might pop it up later onto the card itself with foam tape. Remember, I don't have any firm thoughts yet as to how I want this card to go. Okay, so just putting a little bit of glue along here. I don't need it at the top because I don't have anything there anyway. That was over the edge. Ah, Ciamara, thank you. Okay, now let me just hold this down for a minute because of the porosity of the metallic cardstock, meaning it is not porous. It is very slick. This will not stick down as easily as it would if I'm going cardstock to cardstock, because cardstock is more porous and it kind of sinks in. So I'm just taking a little time just to make sure I've got that pressed down. Looks like it's good now. And then I'll do the same on the other side here. So this, I'm going to do the same exact thing. And then I think we should get to stamping and cutting our lovely embroidery hoop. Placing this on just like that and holding it until it is set. So now you can see how I can place this together. I don't know if they're going to be together or open. So let's just adhere this little screw on the top, and then we'll put these aside and figure that out later. Thank you, Polly. Thumbs up and shared. I appreciate it. And Virginia is here from Georgia. Welcome. So happy to see you there. And once again, pressing and holding for a moment just so that this is firmly attached. Just like that. Okay, so now I will move these aside. I'll put this away. I might be coming back later to get the needle, but right now I want to move on to the next part of my project. I can move the brushed rose cardstock back on the wall or back on the shelf behind me. And we will place this back into position. The layering guides for our dies are so helpful. So helpful. And for the stamps too, but we've been doing a lot of work to improve the layering guide, improve the packaging. So you see now for the past, I don't know how many releases, but many months, we've had these printed outlines so you know exactly where to place the die. All these little things just help make the process of putting your die sets together so much easier. I really love it. So now I'm just going to pull out a piece of cardstock and getting out this embroidery hoop just to see what kind of space we have to work with. Now, the way this die works is we pull out this frame. This will die cut the frame itself. It also cuts out the circle. So what I plan on doing is cutting this twice, once from brown cardstock and then again from white. So the brown will create the outer piece of the hoop, like a wooden hoop. And then the inner piece that I cut from white will be the fabric that's in the hoop. And then we have this. This is the part that you twist and tighten. I think I'm going to use the same little scrap that we had from before. Let's cut this out now while we have this metallic cardstock out and ready. Right there. And where did my tape go? Here it is. Yes, Miss Tam says the outlines are so helpful. The great thing about improving things like that with packaging is it makes everybody's lives so much easier. The bad thing is it makes me want that update on all of my other sets. So I have so many dies that don't have that. And I was like, oh, I wish we came up with that sooner. So now we'll just send this little piece through. I'll do the outside of the die later for the hoop. Right now, I'm just doing some planning. So I think what I shall do is just sketch around the outer edge of this die. I think I'll just do it with a pen so you can see it. It really doesn't matter. Typically I would do with a pencil, but pencil shows up pretty terribly on screen. So this is just an approximate circle. I know it's not going to be an issue because when I cut this out later, the inner cut line, the one that's here on this side, is the part that cuts that inner white piece. I'm just using this as a guide for my stamping, and then we'll come back and cut that out later. Now this, we will set aside with the scissors so we don't lose it. Thank you, Joanne, for sharing. Yeah, Deborah says, I love when you could squeeze the die into a scrap of cardstock. This might be headed for the recycling bin. I don't know if there's much else I could do here. A little bit of space right there. You know what that would be good for? I showed a technique earlier. Oops, where is my picker? Here it is. I showed a technique last week or a couple weeks ago where we made a die that's not a layering die into a layering die just to add some extra detail. So here's what I mean by that. This is just a single piece die, but what I can do is go back and cut this again, like right over here, and then cut out these little tabs here and then lay it on top to be another layer. Looking at the time, we're already halfway done with our time because I work very slowly and talk too much. So I'm not going to do that right now, but just so you know, that is something you can do with any dies that you have to make a single layer die into a layering die. And it really is helpful when the dies have these, focus. When the dies have these etchings in them, because that's like a guide that you can follow to cut. So I could just like cut these etchings down, and that tells me where I would have another layer, and I would adhere that down too. Nancy says, I'm cross-stitching now with a light and a magnifying glass to help these almost 80-year-old eyes see. Guys, I use a magnifier when I like paint my nails. My nails are unpainted right now, but I can't paint them cleanly without a magnifier. So I have these magnifier glasses, kind of like how readers have that magnification, but it also has a light, an LED light attached to it. So I pop the light on and I wear them. It's like big, crazy goggles. And they are so helpful. I love that. I use them all the time and they have changed everything. So the fact that you have almost 80-year-old eyes and you need a magnifier, think of me, I'm half, well, a little over half that. And I also need the magnification in order to do things. This is what I mean by I talk too much. I just forgot what I was in the middle of doing. Let's bring out the stamp set. Now, we were talking before about how packaging gets improved over the years, and I wish that my older packaging had the same improvements. Well, look, here's vintage flowers. This is so old that I didn't even save the packaging because there wasn't anything good in the packaging. The layering guides were, I think, were maybe printed small on the back or maybe even just online. I don't remember, but I don't even have the guide for this. I think I'll be fine layering it up. It's been years since I've inked this one up, but it's pretty self-explanatory for the layering. And I could always go to the website and download the layering guide if I struggle. It's also good for people who have difficulties, speaking of vision issues, with seeing the printing on the packaging. You can download the PDF and you can enlarge it as large as you need. Yeah, Jennifer, this is an oldie but goodie. I don't plan on die cutting these because I think that will remove the effect of having them sewn, because this is on an embroidery hoop. So I want it to feel like it was maybe sewn. There are really great ways to get that effect too. If you use the die that puts on the, I can't remember the name. I'm hoping that Jelly knows what I'm talking about. but it does the grid of dots, like the canvas dots. You could run it through with that, and then you could actually stitch it after you stamp it. So there's a lot of ways to make that effect, but I think I'm going to use the stamp that is included in the Stitch with Love stamp set right here. And I'm going to stamp it over the flowers in a light ink just to add a little bit of that texture. Oh, I have so many plans and I'm running out of time. You child. Virginia's a child. I'm missing some of the conversation. You guys, like I said earlier in the live, the chat just runs through so quickly and I feel like I can't catch all the comments. And sometimes you guys reply to each other and I miss out on what you're talking about. Okay, so back to what I was saying is I'm not die cutting. So I want to think of some kind of arrangement where I could keep it one layer without having to do masking. I could always make a mask, but I'm just going to use the solid flower just to help me plan out where these are going to go. I'm hoping to have maybe one large and one smaller flower, or two large. No, I think two is not going to work. So let's do the rose here. And then, look, this is also so old. There was no text on the packaging to say what the set was. There were no lines separating the layers that belong together. There's no letter and numbers to let you know what layers what. So yes, that's how old this one is. It's so old. All right, are we gonna do this one? Oh, this one. Okay, I think this one. That could kind of tuck in. They don't need to touch. I just want to make some kind of pleasing arrangement with these. Simple but effective. I don't know, maybe something like this. Not quite sure. We'll see how it goes, but I think that might be good. And we could maybe stamp one more little flower. Let me put this here as a placeholder. Yeah, we'll see. I'll see how it goes as it develops. Yes, pegboard. Thank you, Kim. Pegboard die. Okay, so now that I know I want to use these, I'm just going to put them off to the side so they don't get inked up by mistake. And if you look over here, we have 1, 2, 3 layers for this first flower. So I'm going to look at my inks, see what I haven't used in a while. I think these will be pretty. The Martian Terrain. So I'll go in with Pastel Sunrise, Canyon Clay, and Burnt Red for these 3 layers. And I'm just using my stamp wheel. Also very well loved, as you can see. Very discolored, but that does not affect anything with the use of it. Hopefully I don't need to condition. I haven't used these stamps in a while, but I think they'll be fine. Oops, let's get back in. No, I probably should have conditioned. That's not great. Oh, but does that look more like stitched? No, I think I want a solid image. Let's just go over it with the eraser and try this again. Yeah, when you have a new set, you definitely want to condition. There are multiple methods of conditioning. I personally like to use our stamp conditioning erasers, but it does help get rid of some of that shine and gives you a more solid inked result. That being said, if you haven't used a set for a while, you might want to go in and do that again, but no biggie. Discolored means it's loved. You are correct, Susan. All right, let's put this back and then grab the next layer. Again, I'm not working with a layering guide, but these sets have some areas that do overlap from layer 1 to layer 2. So I'm hoping I can just get that into position. Yeah, look how discolored this is here. Yep, there we go. Just fits right in. And then we continue on with our next deeper color. So that'll be the Canyon Clay. I see Elisa's asking, how do you condition a stamp? So when you get a stamp manufactured from any company, it doesn't matter which company it is, if it is photopolymer, there is a slick surface that results from the manufacturing process. Now, when you have, oh, I didn't condition this after I said I would. You guys are probably screaming at me from behind the scenes going, Jen, condition that stamp. Yep, it wants to be conditioned. I can see it. That ink is trying to cling on, but at least it's illustrating what I'm talking about. So there's a slick surface. And if you think about pouring water on like a piece of glass or on a mirror or something, that water is going to bead up because the droplets form together on the slick surface. So the stamp is like that mirror. And then the ink is like the water. Because the ink is water-based, it needs something to grab onto. And if it doesn't have a surface that's been treated, and if it's just plain, like flat as can be, that's going to bead up. And when it beads up, that's when you get a less than crisp result. So I like to use the eraser, but there are people who prefer to use like an embossing ink, and that just puts like a temporary surface, a sticky surface on top of your stamp to help your water-based ink grab on. You can also, why am I blanking on other methods of conditioning? Those are the two most common ways of conditioning. If you guys have other recommended methods of conditioning stamps, please pop them in. And I'm looking at my time. I am absolutely not going to be finishing this project live today, but now we're going to be talking about the next great thing about this live challenge is that you don't need to submit a finished project. It can be a work in progress as long as the work in progress satisfies the prompt. So for this challenge, the prompt is using old and new. Oh, Susan says rub it with your finger or palm. So that's another method that you can use to condition. So as I'm saying, you guys, my mind is everywhere today. Like I said, I'm trying to multitask, trying to line up this stamp. There we go. But yeah, if your work in progress satisfies the challenge prompt this week of old and new, using old products with new products, then you can enter it in. Please just let me know when you post it, what is old and what is new on your project. So in this case, I'd be saying my stamps are old, the embroidery hoop is old, but the scissor die is new from the Stitch with Love set. Okay, now this is the burnt red. And you can see how great that stamped right away because I did condition it first. I remember to this time, and I don't have to stamp it again. So that is the difference that the conditioning makes. Show you up close. Okay, so that last red layer is super crisp, super beautiful, super even because of the conditioning. So even with these well-loved stamps, they did need to be reconditioned just because they've been sitting on my shelf unused for many, many years. I'm glad I'm bringing it back. So fun to bring this back. So since I'm not likely going to be finishing this today, I'm planning to hopefully at least get this cut out and then maybe make some decisions about how the scissors are going to play in. Because this is a A2. This is how large the circle is going to be when I have the embroidery hoop cut out. And then I also, don't forget, I need to put on this little piece too. So imagine this is my card. How am I going to get the scissors to live here too? There we go. But let me know what you think in the comments, how I can arrange this, because I want it to make sense and not just look like I'm popping scissors on here. But we'll see. If I need to put it on a larger card base, I can do that too. I don't have to work on A2. I could definitely do a 5x7 card. But let's continue on with this stamping. And I think I'm just going to, yeah, put some of these little elements here. I haven't done hand stitching, like embroidery, in so long. I used to love doing embroidery. Like I have my box of all the embroidery flosses and my nice big needles, the embroidery needles, and I just haven't done it. Okay, so this is the first layer for the leaf, and you guys can see I've been doing just fine so far without having the layering guides. I am realizing that I'm picking like vintagey colors here for my design, my floral design. Meanwhile, I pick like the brightest lagoon for the scissors. My next step was going to be these Jade Dream greens, because I liked how they were muted to go with the colors of my rose. But I think I need to like punch this up a little bit to make the lagoon make sense. So I'm going to put this back and grab some brighter greens. Yeah, this should be good. All right, so we will take the Firefly, Grassfield, and Shadow Creek. For my first leaf layer, I'll start with that Firefly. Oh, and I'm conditioning it. The other thing about conditioning stamps is it's more necessary on solid images, so stamps that have more surface area, as opposed to maybe an outline stamp set. Something looks weird there. Okay. Let's go now in the next step. So let me wipe this off. But yeah, you might be able to get away with not conditioning stamps that aren't solid. But if your set is new, it doesn't hurt. It takes 2 seconds just to go ahead and condition it. Now here is lovely layer 2. And I'm just going to line that up with the first layer, and we'll just continue stamping. Do any of you guys have this set, the Vintage Flowers? And if so, have you used it recently, or has yours just been sitting around for forever like mine has? Mine's definitely just been sitting around, waiting to be loved. Yeah, I think these greens are definitely going to help punch up the vibrancy of what I've got going. Oh, I'm a little mislayered, misaligned. It's okay. Trying to get as much stamped as I can before I have to sign off, but whew, we're not going to get a lot done. But at least we'll have the components. You guys can see how that's going to go and envision it. And then my favorite sign off is always the come next week to see the dramatic conclusion of my project. We have the cliffhanger, and then we get to see it resolved when you return. Okay, so this one I'll show you, since this is a little more detailed. I don't think I need to condition this one. it's almost an outline. It just adds some details to the outer edge of the leaves. I'm going in with Shadow Creek. Amy says, it's been sitting a while. Terry says, I do, and I need to get them out. Kim, it's been a minute. You guys are so funny. It's not just me. That's good. So as this is essentially an outline, it stamps just fine without being conditioned. I completely botched my layering. User error right there, not because of the stamp set, not because I didn't have the layering guide, just because I didn't do a good job lining it up. Sometimes I do have trouble when I'm live because I like to get right over the stamped image when I'm lining it up. And if I do that, you guys are going to get this action right here, and you won't be able to see what I'm doing. But I'm okay with it too, just like that. Kim says this was one of her first sets. Oh, that's so nice. You've been with us for a very long time then. Unless you bought this way after it was released, because it did stay popular for quite a while. And we'll stamp just a little flower right here. Trying to mimic the spacing I had between the leaf and the rose, just leaving a little bit of space. I could also maybe stamp it down here. However, some of that is going to get cut off, but I actually kind of like how that flow is better. So we'll put it down here. And I'll pull out a little more color for this one. Melanie says, I really like this older stamp set. Yeah, and a lot of stamps, not just from Altenew, but from many companies, are pairing outline stamps with stencils now, and we're seeing less and less of the true layering stamps like these, and I do love the look of this. Trying to remember that this color is coming back, so maybe yellow. I think that could brighten it up too. Let's do like yellowy orange. So we've got Peachy Glow, Golden Honeycomb, and Amber Blaze. This is going to be so small though, and I don't even know if we've got 3 layers. Now we've got 2 layers. So we'll do Peachy Glow and Golden Honeycomb. I think that'll be cute. And those of you who are just joining us, please share within the next 5 minutes or so, because if you share while we're live, you'll be entered to win a $15 gift certificate to the Altenew store. It's a little bit lighter than I want. Let's switch. Let's change gears. Let's do like buttercream and warm sunshine. I think that'll show up a little bit better. Yeah, so share while we're live, and we will have that winner announced momentarily, just a few minutes. We'll have a random winner selected. Okay, I think that shows up a little bit better. Gina says, yeah, you can get the same look with stencils nowadays. True, except for the floating parts. So what I mean by is a stencil, when we design stencils, we have to be very thoughtful with not having bridges that are too small. So the bridges are the thin pieces of the stencil material that connect different areas, because if the bridges are too fragile, they might rip. And you can't have areas that are floating inside. So if I had a stencil and there was an open area here, I can't have more details of that stencil in the center because it's not attached to anything. There are no bridges connecting it. Whereas with a stamp, you can have floating sections, no problem. So yes, I agree with you. You could get that look with stencils, but it's not going to be as detailed as you would get with the layering stamps. Now I'm going to place layer 2 on, and this is going to be warm sunshine. And then I think I'm going to have to pop you up and wrap this up, but I will show you kind of the bits and pieces that we have so far. This might take some turning around before I figure out which way it goes. I think it's this way or this way. Let's go with this. If it's a little bit off, it's okay because it's just a little tiny flower in the corner, but we'll still just add that little bit of yellow, little detail. Stephanie says she's glad she can join and watch live today. Me too, Stephanie. I'm glad you're here, and I hope you decide to play along. Anybody who plays along definitely needs to post publicly with the hashtag Altenew Challenge Live in order to be considered and featured. I think I lined that up perfectly. I wasn't sure, but I think I got the orientation correct. So there is that one. And then I do have the little flower center. I might just do that in the caramel toffee. So let me pop that last bit on, and then we will kind of summarize what's going on here. And then hopefully we'll see you guys back next week where we will feature the winner. You'll also be able to see my finished project. For this itty bitty stamp, I'm just going to grab a block. Just like that. This is just one of our acrylic blocks. And then, yeah, with that caramel toffee, and just pop this in the center for a little bit extra detail. All right, so here we have the beginning of this little scene. I'm so sorry I didn't have time to stamp on this pattern, but I will pull this out to show you. It's a pretty perfect fit, I have to say. So this one came from the Stitched with Love. This is representing my new of the old and new. And it looks like we're not even close size-wise, but don't forget the inside of this is going to be what we have here cut through. So like I want you to imagine now this inner line, that's what you're going to see from this white cardstock. And this is almost perfect, just like that. So what I'll do off screen this week is I will finish stamping my little flower arrangement using my last two blooms, something like this. Then I'm going to create the the hoop by cutting this from maybe brown or something wood looking, adding our cute little hardware to it like this. And then I will figure out where the scissors are going to go and whether or not I need to add the needle that was from the die set in the Stitch with Love set. And then I think I'm going to use one of these greetings because they're cute and sewing themed. You're so amazing, something like that. Okay, so hopefully you see the vision. We didn't get to finish it, but I like where this is headed. It's a little bit different for me, especially since I think we might need to pop this onto a larger card base, and I almost exclusively work on A2. So I will need to cut a 5x7 if I choose to do that. But this is all what you're going to have to come back to see because it is time, unfortunately, for me to sign off. So let's pop you back up so I can see you all. Hello again. Yes, thank you so much to everybody who has been with us today. And if you just popped in or if you're watching us on the replay, go back to the beginning so you can see everything you missed. I am really happy with how this is going and I can't wait to see how it turns out. But even more so, I can't wait to see what all of you guys create. Make sure you create something that incorporates old products with new products. Please interpret that as you wish. So if you are brand new to stamping and to you an old product is something you bought last week and a new product is something you got today, then tell me that in the comment with your hashtag Altenew Challenge Live, just so that we can see what you are combining together. If you've been in the stamping world for a long time, go dust off whatever you've got in storage, find those old sets, and combine them in a fresh way with something that is newer to your collection. Again, does not have to be Altenew, but please, definitely, if you have it and you want to show us what you create with your Altenew supplies, I love that even more. So once you do that, you can share that with us. And next week, we will have somebody brand new who is featured, and they will win a $15 gift certificate to the Altenew store. And I've got a new challenge for you next week. And next Tuesday, I will be even more exhausted than today because, like I said, I have my students coming next week. So we'll see how that one goes for all of us. But I hope all of you have an amazing week. I want to thank Jelly once more for being behind the Altenew badge. You do a wonderful job, and I really appreciate it. Okay, let's see this outro video. There it is, ready to go. And I hope you all have a wonderful and crafty day. Bye.